It's time to take a TO with coaches Turner and O'Neill. Produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy.
It's time to take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Your new favorite podcast features conversation from the world of high school, college, and pro sports, along with other riveting content. Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast and on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, or visit www.turnerando'neill.com. Listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, and more than 15 podcast platforms. We also invite you into the studio each week via YouTube. Subscribe and watch each episode on our YouTube channel at Turner O'Neill Podcast. Thanks to our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. And our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Coach Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by me, DJ Krissy. Now we welcome you to today's episode as we take a TO with coaches Steve Turner and Casey O'Neill. Here's your host, Kurtis Cross.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. I am Kurtis Cross, your host, and with me as always is Coach Steve Turner and Coach Casey O'Neill. Our engineer is DJ Krissy, and together we welcome you into the studio for this week's episode. Our premier partner for Season 2 is Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Ray is a friend of the program, and he is the only mortgage lender we endorse right here at Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Ray Cruz is Mortgages Intelligently. We'd like to thank our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and the Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. This week, we welcome current head coach of the PLL's Atlas Lacrosse Club, Ben Rubior. This guy's resume checks all the boxes, and he will be here with us on the podcast. But first, fellas, how are we doing this week?
Go ahead, Coach.
Doing all right.
Why are you doing all right? Does that number 330 have anything to do with it?
It does, but I'll let people figure out what that means.
330.
330.
That's all we got to say.
That's all we got to say.
330 came to an end.
So if that's the number that you have, mine's got to be great. No, mine's less.
Yours less.
Yeah, it's less.
Currently, it's
Yours
less.
is less.
And we hope it stays that way.
But feels longer.
You had, well, as they will learn, they will figure out what we're talking about. But yeah, 330. It's been a long
time. I shouldn't have left you.
It's been a long time. But feeling good. It's like I tell y'all, Mondays, man. It's Mental Health Monday. That's what I'm gonna start calling it.
All right, I can live with that.
Mental Health Monday.
MHM.
And it was exciting. Back on I Street today.
Right.
Back in our hybrid state. To see the number of kids on campus, I thought it was awesome. We went through inauguration. I just feel I can start seeing some normalcy at that light at the end of the tunnel. So
all right,
Coach Turner's pumped up.
What's exciting too is to hear, and now it's happening slowly but surely, colleagues and friends of ours that are getting a vaccine.
Yes, I just missed it the other day. Unfortunately.
Yes, I same as well. But it's there. It's happening. There is progress. You know what progress is?
Talk to me.
Having a lacrosse episode.
Yes, sir.
On Take a TO. It's been a while, so folks, we're getting ready for our season, which we still are hoping and praying is
coming.
Is coming. but we haven't talked a lot of lacrosse since the summer, way back when in season 1, right?
Buckle up, brother.
Buckle up. We got a great guest, awesome man, in Ben Rubior, who I've been lucky to coach around and be around and see, and excited. And for me personally, great weekend. A lot of time with my girls, especially my youngest, my wife, and our middle. We're out doing some things with just all weekend. And so had a lot of time with the little one this weekend. So
all right,
I'm ready to go.
All right, I haven't asked about Cole in a while.
Cole's actually, speaking of progress, they had their first practice about a week ago.
Get
Awesome.
out.
Their first practice. Now it's slow. They don't know yet what the game schedule is going to look like down there. But this
He's on the field.
He's on the field. He said it was great. He said he was a little winded running around after that
I bet.
after that winter break. But there is, there's a lot of progress happening, and people are excited in the O'Neill household, as is Coach T, and excited to hear about you guys. What's going on?
DJ Krissy, you were behind the controls as always, making us sound and look good. How was your weekend?
I had a fun weekend, but I'm more excited about today.
Why are we excited about today?
Well, because we have TNO
Right.
today, podcast time. That's always exciting Monday stuff for me. But it might snow. So that's exciting.
You're right, because when we leave the studio tonight, there might be some snow coming down.
There might be some
snow.
precip.
It might be during
It might
recording.
hit us while we're here.
Winter weather.
Guys, if you don't know, she's excited about precip.
So what kind of snow interests you? Is it just a little dusting, or like the whole kit and caboodle, just the big one, or do you just like to see the snow?
Anything and
enough to
everything
shut things
snow
down?
related.
Okay. Now just one in the winter, and then let's get to spring, or multiple snows?
I will take whatever it gives me.
Okay. Fair enough.
I want the big one.
You want the blizzard of
just
96?
one big one, right?
Maybe 2.
Well,
Not this week.
Not
Come
this,
on.
not
It's
this,
gotta
not
be the
this
good
week.
snow,
Not yet.
though.
Not yet.
It's got to be the good snow. It
Like
can't,
the-
it can't be
Yeah,
the...
it's
snowball snow?
It can't
It's
be
gotta
the
be
feathery
snowball.
snow.
It's got to be snowball snow.
gotta snowball
No
snow.
ifs, ands, or buts about it.
so
But we need snowmen. We need snowball fights. Come on.
Yes.
So don't forget, President's Day weekend has yet to arrive, and we have been notorious in the D.C. area
Yeah.
for getting those big ones. So be
So
careful what you wish for.
So that mid-February, you think something's coming?
Well, I think nothing's coming.
They said
Yeah.
this year we weren't going to get anything, but
Right. And we haven't really got it. We had
Hey.
one shovelable snow.
A little one. Yeah.
Right.
There was enough to make that snowman with my youngest, and the next one it came out.
And then a few days later,
Yeah, that carrot was dangling down.
Snow downers in the studio today.
I'm with no.
I'm not down. I'm with
We're
it.
not going to get any.
Chrissy, we're crossing fingers for you, all right? We'll do that. In our audience, some of those folks out there are going to cross their fingers with you so you get your snow. Well, look, I got behind the mic for the first time in 318 days for some NCAA hoops this weekend. I won my fantasy basketball matchup for the week, and the Lakers remain undefeated on the road this season. So my week was a great one, but I have to stop and say happy birthday to my mother, Verna Cross. Mama.
Happy birthday, mama.
Mama's celebrating her birthday today. She came over. We had lunch, and it's just...
Did she cook or did you cook?
No, we went out and got it for her.
Okay.
I got what she wanted.
I thought you were going to get a little oxtail.
And what is her request? What's her birthday
She
request?
wanted Chipotle. That's what she wanted.
Okay.
She wanted Chipotle.
Smart woman. Smart lady.
Yes. We got her roses because she won't tell you what she wants. In fact, a few weeks ago, she told me what she wanted, and that very day she went out and got it. She wanted a winter coat. So she went to Burlington Coat Factory and got one. So she got a couple dozen roses. She got lunch today, and yesterday I think my sister prepared a big seafood meal for her. So Mama's birthday is today. Happy birthday, Mama. January 25th.
Awesome.
Love it.
Before we go to break, we must take a moment to remember Hank Aaron. He passed this week at the age of 86. Of course, the heart of Hank Aaron's career was prior to all of us being born. But tell us what Hank Aaron means to the world of baseball. Coach Turner, I know you're a big baseball guy, so what does Hank Aaron mean in your world?
I mean, a lot. Like, learning the game from uncles who played it, and just hearing their stories of him. Certainly was one of those guys that I admired in the sport, and certainly the things that he was able to do in the game of baseball. He will be greatly missed and certainly not forgotten.
Yeah.
Coach O'Neill.
I agree with that. As a child growing up and following sports and I would think the one athlete that I would think about was Cal Ripken when I was a kid, right? Cal Ripken was kind of the thing with the Orioles.
Iron Man.
The Iron Man. And you hear names like, I could say, Willie Mays or, just to go down the list of famous, but none more famous than Hank Aaron. And you go back and watch clips of him and him play the game pre-steroid, right?
Right.
That smooth swing, just taking balls out of the park, doing it the right way. R.I.P., man. Hank Aaron, one of the best of all time. That's a GOAT. That's a GOAT. We joke about that, but that's the real greatest of all time.
I got to see him play once. My dad took me, before DC had a team, once a year back in the 70s or 80s, they had the Old Timers Classic. And my dad took me. I got to see Hank Aaron in one of those one day. And I don't think I realized then what I was watching. Yeah. But when I think about, was Willie Mays there? Like all these guys that were there, and they were probably in their 40s, 50s at that time. But the Old Timers Classic, my dad took me to.
So real quick, I was looking at this, and I heard a clip on Twitter that these are just some of the names in this past year that we've lost in baseball. Tom Seaver, Tommy Lasorda, who just recently passed.
Like a week or two ago.
Joe Morgan. Joe Morgan was a great baseball player and was also a great analyst. For baseball. Don Sutton. The list goes on. And these are, again, to the young people who have no idea who these people are, they are, just legends of baseball. And I think the men I mentioned there just did it the right way.
Those are the McGuires, the Ripkins, the Sosas of this time.
Right.
That's who those guys are. Well, let's talk about some of his stats. 755 homers, 3,771 hits. If you take away all of his homers, he still has more than 3,000 hits in his career. His MLB records that still stand, 2,297 career RBIs, 6,856 total bases, 1,477 extra base hits, and 25 all-star selections. Now, he didn't play 25 years, but there were a few years where they had more than one all-star game.
Sure.
So he got 25 all-star selections, more than anyone ever. Henry Louis Aaron, we know him as Hammerin' Hank Aaron, passed on January 22nd, 2021 at the age of 86. Let's hit our first break, and we will be back with this week's headline. At Peace Players, we use the power of sport to unite, educate, and inspire young people to create a more peaceful world. We offer sport programming, peace education, and leadership development to those living in communities in conflict. We challenge the hate that is driven by the fear of our differences. We bridge divides between people through the game of basketball, and we develop young leaders who help to change perceptions. Find out more at www.peaceplayers.org.
Connect with us socially on Instagram and Facebook at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, on YouTube, just search Turner and O'Neill, then subscribe. And of course, you can visit our website at www.turnerando'neill.com. One Headline is brought to you by
Healthy Baller is dedicated to developing athletes at any level through customized programs created by their world-class trainers. Healthy Baller creates an unparalleled training experience centered around the athlete and coach relationship. Between their physical therapy team and strength and conditioning staff, they create an all-encompassing process to help injured athletes return to the field. For the young athlete, Healthy Baller is an excellent training and confidence builder. Paula and I personally know this as our children attend Healthy Baller twice each week. With Blair and Molly training our 12 and 10-year-olds, we can personally vouch for their expert training and dedication to each athlete. Call 844-622-5537 or visit healthyballer.com and tell them Kurtis and Paula sent you.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill.
Welcome back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. Today's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Before we go to the headline, Super Bowl appearances. Tom Brady has been in 18% of all Super Bowls. I'm not done. Since he came into the NFL, he's been in 48% of the Super Bowls. One more stat that someone told me today. When Tom Brady appeared in his first Super Bowl, Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were in kindergarten. This week's headline, Tom Brady finds himself in his 10th Super Bowl. Coach Turner.
You know I was playing that music today, too. We ain't going
Nowhere.
That's Tom's thing.
Here's my thought.
Just be nice.
No, I'm going to be nice. I mean, one,
his resume, I mean, you can...
resume speaks for itself.
Right.
Hats off. You guys know it. I say it all the time. I just want somebody new. And I'm a fan of Aaron Rodgers. So I wanted to see him go.
Ditto.
You know, and then there's the other side of me that also wanted to see Tom do it so they can stop talking about how it's all about Belichick.
Right.
Like, so there's a respect factor on either side. My heart goes out to Rodgers. I mean, Tom is the GOAT. I can't take that away from him. He's a bad man.
Does this say anything about where the balance of talent or whatever was him versus Belichick?
What I think you find out about what just happened and what still could happen is that when you put a leader in front of a team that's willing to follow him and ride with him, changes the whole complexion of what a team could be. Right. That team was built to win, but unfortunately, the guy in the driver's seat wasn't the best leader for them. You know, it doesn't mean he's not a good leader, but wasn't the best leader for them. Right. To watch Tom come in and just, in an instance, let's go, we in the Super Bowl. That's huge. I mean, that's you have to. I don't care if you've never been a fan of him, and I'm a fan of him. I think he's a great quarterback, but the respect factor I have for him is bigger than being a fan. To watch a guy lead like that and be able to be a Pied Piper. I've coached some kids like that, like at our level, and it's an unbelievable thing to watch when guys dial all the way in and are willing to give of themselves because their leader does the same for them.
I wonder, is it a matter of, was he the right leader for them, or did he morph himself into what he needed to be for them? Is he that malleable, which I bet he is?
No, I mean, I don't.
He's a great leader, sure, but I'm thinking he had to find that proper level. Like, you know, when a key goes in lock, the pins have to drop. He had to find where he needed the pins to drop. He identified that and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And maybe it's not the Tom from New England. Maybe he had to be a different Tom to do it, but he's got that range, right?
I definitely would agree with you on that.
And I'm not a huge fan of his, but talent is talent.
So there's a group of buddies, a text chain, about 20 of my friends who I would say 99% of them cannot stand Tom Brady, right? They're just sick of the act. They're sick of all this. And I take no greater joy than one of the guys who loves him, right, who's from the New England area that rooted for the Patriots and then just stuck with him when he went to Tampa. And he always, you know, he pokes the fire, pokes me to send text because I rarely respond, and then I'll send that video of Tom and Gronk doing their thing, going to the plane, like just you know, and that would drive anyone insane. But here's my lesson with Tom Brady, and this is for the young folks out there. They have to understand. So he was not a 4 or a 5-star recruit out of college, right? Size 6'4", threw a beautiful ball, could play a little baseball. He was 7th on the depth chart at Michigan, 7th. And there's a speech he gives when, not the current Michigan coach, Harbaugh, but before him, where he was in the Michigan meeting room, right? And he talks about the greatest honor for him was being voted captain at Michigan, his 4th year, and then he had a 5th year redshirt year. Mm-hmm. And he said, to this day, that's the greatest honor before any other Super Bowl. Now, granted, that could be just, you know, talking to the kids. But I believe him because you go in there and you're the 7th on the depth chart and you work your way up, and then they bring in another recruit in Drew Henson years ago that kind of knocked him back. Mm-hmm. But then he goes and he does what he did, and to the young folks, you never give up. Tom Brady's never given up, and him being 43 years old and still loving the game and studying the game like he does, there's something to be said about that. So for all the haters out there, it wasn't like he was just given the keys. He clearly has worked his tail off to be who he is. So watch that clip. He delivers a speech. I believe him. And, I kind of swallowed the Kool-Aid of Michigan years ago. But, I mean, man, 10 Super Bowls.
Okay. And here you go. I've got something here, not Tom related, but to your point, 7 years ago, Josh Allen had 0 scholarship offers when he got out of high school. And on yesterday, he played for a spot in the Super Bowl. He didn't make it, but that's that perseverance.
He's going to get there. He's
got never given up.
Yep, never give up. And that's
Steve?
the lesson to kids.
Well, I just think it's to what we do as coaches, trying to preach and an understanding. Like, number one, be ready and be prepared for your opportunity. And when you get it, run with it. Grab the bull by the horns and own it. And and there's no greater, in my opinion, there's no greater example of that than him.
Chris likes, right?
Hey, he definitely grabbed the bull by the horn.
I mean,
Hard over height.
And you could even say in a way with granted, MJ was a high commodity coming out of college. He wasn't the first. He
was cut from high school team. People forget that.
Right. Fultz here in the local area.
Freshman
at
JV
DeMatha,
basketball.
freshman JV, boom, player of the year, #1 pick in the NBA.
Number one pick.
It's always, we say it all the time, man. You deal with that adversity. He dealt with a little bit of it, and Steve, you said it perfectly, man. Once you get your chance, don't look back.
Don't look back.
We will get a bit more into NFL Championship Sunday in our sports wrap-up segment. That is your one headline. Next Level Lacrosse. Train like a Spartan. Next Level Lacrosse is dedicated to providing a terrific lacrosse experience that is intensely focused on player development and character formation. Players at all levels will improve significantly through professional coaching and carefully designed training programs. We stress proper technique and a tireless work ethic, from beginning programs to rec leagues, travel clubs to summer programs. We develop the young and experienced players alike. Next Level Lacrosse has a rich tradition of running the best middle and high school lacrosse leagues in the DMV area. You will find us at www.nextlevelspartans.com or call 240-497-1460.
We invite your questions, comments, and show ideas. Simply go to www.turnerandoneil.com and click Submit Your Idea.
The Starting Five is brought to you by
Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. With a stellar reputation as an outstanding mortgage lender, Ray Cruz serves the lending needs of real estate professionals, builders, and individual home buyers in Maryland, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Texas, California, Florida, Illinois, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. Ray believes that integrity is the cornerstone of his business, and helping you achieve your home financing goals is his business. Located in the heart of Bethesda, Maryland, contact Ray P. Cruz today to get started. Your home mortgage or refinance options await. Call 301-761-2278 or visit raypcruz.com. Ray P. Cruz, mortgages intelligently.
portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. The Starting Five. Welcome back to Take It to Yo with Turner and O'Neill. I'm your host, Kurtis Cross, and with me is Coach Steve Turner, Coach Casey O'Neill, and of course our engineer is DJ Krissy. We are up to our weekly Starting Five. 5 questions asked of each coach. They've never heard these questions, and they each have 30 seconds to answer the question. If they go over their 30 seconds, DJ Krissy, tell these folks what'll happen. And I feel like we're working on a good, some good karma. We haven't gotten too many dings.
Is that what Conor McGregor heard on? Oof.
I mean, did he even hear it? Did he even hear it? Because he got dealt with, didn't he? All right, Starting Five. Let's go with Coach Turner first. We're going to take it easy on you. Most memorable teacher throughout your school days and why?
There's quite a few.
All right.
For some reason, I always go back to high school, but I'm going to go somewhere else with this one. Before heading off to Southern Connecticut State University, I did some time at Montgomery College in Rockville. I had a teacher by the name of Mr. Starr, and he just, I don't know what it was. He pulled me in for any and everything that he did and taught. I think in education, he changed the course for me in terms of what made me really understand that it was important for me to get my degree. I think it was a lot of our offline conversations. He treated me almost like a son, and so Mr. Star, MC Rockville.
Coach O'Neill.
A lot of folks that just when you ask that question and hearing Steve talk was, I'm seeing all these men and women go through my head. And, I'm going to go grade school. And I had I started at Modern Day School, where Jared went to school. It's a private school in Bethesda, Maryland. And it's for boys. And so boys can be boys and play sports and be good people. But there's a teacher there in 7th grade where I needed to lock in, and he really helped me. His name was Kevin Charles. Kevin Charles was a great English teacher. Not teaching there anymore, but I used to tell him when I'd see him as I got older that just that year in 7th grade, he did such a good job of just keeping me in check. Really?
Is that the first ding of
when we go to the
season
there's
2?
No way he didn't go a minute. You're looking at me, right?
I'm
Kevin,
here to narrate
I'm sorry
the
that
conversation.
DJ Krissy, if you hear this, did that. But shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for what you did. Next question,
good man.
Krissy.
Coach O'Neill, coming right back to you. One thing we would never guess
Do
about
I have
you.
enough time?
I don't know. That's up to her. She's the engineer.
Put the camera on Krissy.
dying laughing.
She's laughing at you.
And I got shocked. What the?
One thing.
Got popped too.
One thing we would never guess about you. Krissy's.
That I'd get dinged in 22 seconds after Steve had a minute. That's one thing you don't know about me. But
I
guess
gave you an extra 15.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Wow. She's fighting back.
One thing that people don't know about me.
Oh,
Correct.
goodness.
Woo, baby. Wow.
Besides your charming personality.
Charming personality. Man, I got to think about this one. I'm going to defer.
Coach Turner, one thing we would never guess about you. We know you're a great guy.
I got mine.
Okay, go ahead.
I can do the splits.
Does a 30 start over?
You can do the splits. You don't
Full
need 30.
split.
Pretty much, yeah.
One day on this show, we're going to want to see that.
It's pretty good.
We are recording, so he can.
He can do that. Coach Turner, we know that you are about helping others. We know about your giving heart. What do we not know about you?
That's a good question. I'm gonna get dinged because this is the one. Can you give me a countdown, Krissy? At least at 15.
We got a guest coming up. Just kidding.
Yeah, we do.
What? Something they don't know about me?
Correct.
I'm an unbelievable cook.
All right. Coach Turner, come back to you. You get a choice. In your final season, do you want a WCAC award named after you, or do you want to win a title in that final season?
Oh, I definitely want to win a title.
All right.
I don't need no award named after me.
All right.
It's never been about me, so
But I believe you.
let me win another championship so I can put on another.
Oh, this is
You can
easy.
ride off.
Put on another ring.
championship.
You want the award.
Yes. No, the championship.
The Casey O'Neill award.
No, I want the banner.
You want the hardware.
Yeah, trophy, no doubt.
All right, coming back to you. Bigger move in sports history. Babe Ruth goes from the Red Sox to the Yankees, or the Lakers trade Vlade Divac in 1996 for the rights to Charlotte's 13th pick, which, as we know, was Kobe Bryant.
Oh, that's it. That's a good question. I'm going to go with the Babe. Just because of that, the rivalry, the Red Sox, the Yankees.
It brought about that rivalry.
And, I think Kobe would have found there would have been something where Kobe would have found. I just don't see that Charlotte and Vlad. It's just not resonated to me. Kobe would have had greatness no matter where he was. Babe, those two organizations flipping. Ding away, Krissy.
Coach Turner.
Pretty simple. The Babe. I'm a believer Kobe would have been Kobe wherever he started or to getting to where he finished. But that rivalry,
And the Lakers had won championships before Kobe.
Red
Sox had a
But
dark
but they
history.
pulled off a good one there because Kobe was not on Charlotte's radar.
That's called the
They're
curse.
cutting into my 30 seconds right now. Here are these two little brothers doing what they do all the time.
Because we're buckaroos with badges.
That's right.
Okay?
So the rivalry, it changed. It
Better
changed.
ask somebody.
It
Did he just say, you better ask somebody?
Oh Lord.
You nasty curse.
Oh,
The babe.
What am I gonna do with these two?
Next question.
You come back here next week and deal with us.
I will.
A tailored wardrobe every day of your life or front row seats for 1 year to any sporting event you want. The front row is only for 1 year. The tailored wardrobe is the rest of your life.
Hold up. One more time.
A tailored wardrobe every day for the rest of your
I
life.
got that part.
Or front row seats for 1 year to any sporting event. So you get to pick your events.
So it's not limited to one sport.
Right, you can go Game 7, World Series.
I'm front row seats for a
You can
year.
go Final Four.
Yes, I'm
all
going
that.
to everything.
And so
I'm going to every single one.
And then the rest of your life, you got everything tailored. Suits.
As long as
multiple?
I'm going. I'm
That's
front row,
tough.
baby.
I'm going to give you a hint. I'm going to give you a piece of advice, though. Don't go front row NASCAR. What's up, Chris?
We need clarification.
What's that?
Is that a new piece of clothing every day that's tailored?
Yes.
Or is it just
Yes.
I hear
Upon
that.
request.
See, I've spent most of my life, just my gear game is decent for athletics, but outside of that, it's never been that strong. So that is a tough question. But as a sports fanatic, I'm going, and I'm sure you could add some concerts in there, right?
Sporting events.
Okay, sporting events.
I
Done.
write the
Boom.
questions. You
Boom.
don't get to change the questions.
Chloe will never be the same.
The only thing I would ask in that is that I did it in an Olympic year.
Okay, so you want to do it 92, 96,
I needed an Olympic
2000.
So he's
yes.
making edits to the question.
All right.
That's just, I would love to do it in
He's big brother. I got to do what he says or he's going to knock my head in.
an Olympic year. That would change a whole
NASCAR,
lot
don't
of
sit in the
things.
front row. You can't see anything.
I know.
You got to sit up a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is your starting five. The starting five. O'Neill Development is a custom builder in Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and the Eastern Shore. Recognized nationally as a premier builder, O'Neill Development has received awards for historic restoration and urban infill work. Committed to best practices in green building, O'Neill Development also provides support in budgeting, architect selection, and design development during the critical stages of planning. O'Neill Development, building, remodeling, and development since 1975. Find us at www.o'neilldev.com or call 301-840-9310.
Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill can be found on more than 15 podcast platforms. Listen to us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Buzzsprout, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. Tune in on your preferred podcast platform. Be sure to listen, subscribe, and spread the word. Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill records weekly with episode drops each Thursday at 11 a.m.
From Washington, D.C. to Ocean City, Woodbridge to Columbia, Richmond to Virginia Beach, the hottest DJs are right here. The Mid-Atlantic Professional DJ Association.
Current social distancing does not allow for event gatherings in the traditional sense. When it's time to plan your bar or bat mitzvah, office party, Sweet 16, or any event, we've got your party solution. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event experts. Our virtual events division has perfected an entertainment experience like none other. We bring the celebration to you. Contact us for virtual trivia, office parties, nightclub nights, or any virtual event. Dynamic DJ Entertainment is your virtual event solution. Visit www.mapdja.com or call 301-942-4500.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. Ladies and gentlemen, today's guest was one of the nation's best lacrosse players. During his days at UVA, as a Cavalier, Ben Rubeor was an integral part of the 2006 run to the perfect season and the Lacrosse National Championship. During that same run, Ben was the only sophomore named to the All-ACC team, and as a junior, he was a Tewaaraton finalist. Rubior played in the MLL and now is the head coach of the Atlas Lacrosse Club in the PLL. Here to take a TO with us today, please welcome Mr. Ben Rubeor. Ben, are you there?
I am here. Thanks for having me.
Coach, thanks for joining us today. And in the studio with me is Coach Casey O'Neill and Coach Steve Turner.
Ben, how you doing? It's Casey here. I really appreciate you jumping on to talk a little lacrosse with us, a little life. Hope you're doing well up there in the north, my friend.
Coach Steve.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Great connecting.
Coach Steve Turner here. Just want to say how much we appreciate you taking some time out of your busy schedule to come and hang out with us on the podcast today.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Coach.
Well, Coach, I've got to say it was tough. It was a tough project to summarize your introduction because your resume and your achievements are so plentiful. I'm anxious to tell our listeners all about who you are, but first, just tell me, what did I miss? I know that you are in the admissions department. You have 2 or 3 lacrosse teams. Let's just make sure that I accurately represent your resume. Where else are you besides PLL Atlas?
Yeah, well, thank you for the intro. I also work at Thayer Academy, which is just south of Boston. So I work there. I work in the admissions department, and I coach some club lacrosse. And I think that one of the coolest things about lacrosse right now is I think pro players and pro coaches are working with youth kids in a bunch of different ways. I happen to be a high school coach and a club coach. So anyway, it's cool. I get to do something a little bit different each day, and just trying to be the best coach I can.
Well, I admit that I'm the novice in the studio when it comes to lacrosse, but during season 1 of our podcast, Coach O'Neill had me tune in to the PLL playoffs. What I saw was an exciting game that I've never taken the time to watch until prompted to. So how do you think the sport has positioned itself to gain someone like me, a new fan? Because I loved what I saw, but what is lacrosse doing to get more folks in?
Great question. I think from my perspective, there's a few things they've done. I think that the coverage that we get and kind of the behind the scenes and the different angles and the fact that it's on national TV now, I think is pretty great. I will say I think the Premier Lacrosse League does the best job of any league that I've seen in terms of social media and telling stories about these guys. And I obviously am biased, but I think it's maybe the best combination of just finesse and physicality of sports these days. So anyway, I'm glad you tuned in, and I hope more people will.
Hey, Ben, it's Casey again. So a lot of times when we have coaches on the podcast, I ask them to kind of talk about their core principles, as a coach, the things that they're preaching and teaching. Now, with you, this is going to be an interesting question because so you're up there at Thayer Academy, and then you're working with not only the high school kids and then the club kids, but then you're coaching the best players in the world. In the PLL. So do those core principles, do they change from each team? As you're working with a pro and then you're working with some teenage kid that you're, working with the fundamentals on. Can you talk to the listeners about that a little bit, what your core principles are, and then how you transfer them to those different levels?
Yeah, I think that I don't necessarily have a set group of core principles for each and every team that I work with. I've never operated like that. I didn't come from a system like that. I see it more as I try and read the group and what the group needs. And I don't necessarily think the message has to be different because a guy's a pro or a guy's playing high school or middle school lacrosse. I think, the same things kind of apply, but I do try and read the group. I'll share what I shared with the Atlas most recently. I mean, we communicate in the off season, and the message this past time was basically act differently than you feel. I mean, I think that our team didn't perform as well as we would have liked, and I think our we can basically let our feelings determine how we act, or act and let our feelings follow what we're doing. So I've just asked them to take, small steps on a consistent basis in the right direction. And, I've basically shared with them, and I believe it, that I think they'll feel better if they just start moving in the direction that they want to head. So anyway, that's one thing that I shared with that group. The thing that I shared with kind of my club players the other day was focus. I mean, we got a lot of kids that really want to do some great things in lacrosse, and they get to the front of the line and they're just not ready for the rep, or they're worried about something other than just making one good catch and one good pass. And I guess the message that I left them with was focus. I mean, put your entire being into the one rep you're on, and it'll all work out. So anyway, those are a couple of things I've been talking about recently.
Appreciate that. Great answer. Steve?
Coach, you obviously have been blessed as a talent yourself as a player. And then I read your resume and see coaching, again, you talked about a little bit, coaching high school players, coaching club teams, and then coaching the best of the best. Talk to us about the differences at those levels, because they're all a little different. Like, you coach the best in the game currently. How is it for you in terms of how you coach those guys on the field, based on, they're novice to the game, their levels as a high school potential All-American, to then coaching the greatest in the world?
Yeah, I will say with the pro players, I think a big part of the battle is just getting them to trust each other. Meaning they all understand that they can make a lot of the plays on their own. I just don't think they can make enough of the plays to actually win the game. So I think half the battle with those guys is just trust your teammates and be part of like a whole instead of trying to be the whole thing yourself. So anyway, that's one thing I try and emphasize with those guys. I don't find it to be as big of a hurdle with some of the younger guys. I mean, the younger guys, I'm getting them to try to just believe in themselves more. I mean, I want them to put the effort in, to practice enough that they start to believe in themselves. And then I feel like, I'm there to be like, you got this, you're doing this, and we believe in you too. So go and do it. And, I see so many players that I'm just like, boy, you could be a little more aggressive. And then when it does start to click for these young guys and they do start to believe, I mean, I think there's a lot more potential in them than maybe they even know. And so anyway, that's a little bit of the difference, at least from my perspective. But again, I think a lot of it applies whether you're 10 years old or you're 30 years old. I think a lot of the same things apply in terms of where you have to be mentally, where you have to play as a group, and the type of work that you got to put in to accomplish what you want to accomplish.
Hey, as a follow-up to lacrosse, gaining new fans, and I love your answer. Social media integration is ridiculous. I'm a big NBA fan. I think they do a great job of it. But you're right about the PLL, making sure you know the player profiles and how they move and how they shake. And that's one way to connect with a younger audience where you can get them engaged. But as far as gaining those new fans, where do you see the sport going in the years to come? Are we talking expansion? We talking bigger budgets, more major network coverage? Where do you see it going in the years to come?
I'm coaching professional lacrosse for hopefully the long term. I mean, I think that this is a wave that's only building. I think that some of the things that they've done, I mean, everyone from Bill Belichick streaming in to Camille Kostek, I mean, they got different people watching these games who really care about it, whose kids, typically their kids have played in some form or fashion. And so anyway, I would say the average fan, in my opinion, is probably as young as any sport going. And that has to be, at least from my understanding, a really good thing for the future. If you got young fans, hopefully they're going to grow up and then, continue to cheer and then pass it on to their kids. And so anyway, my hope and my belief is that we're at the beginning of this thing. And I think we got some really creative minds, some really hungry people that want to go and build a major sports brand. And, I feel lucky to be just a tiny part of it.
So Ben, I just wanted to touch on that merger again. And for those folks that are, novice to the sport, what you had are the two big leagues, the PLL and the MLL merging together. Now, somebody like you that spent some time playing for the Bayhawks, probably near and dear to your heart, that organization, and then coaching with the Cannons. I don't know if did you play with the Cannons as well too in Boston?
No, I just coached.
So coaching there. So just explain to the fans how that's going to better the game, or at least what you think with the PLL growing with that merger.
Yes, so we had two leagues for the past 2 years, and one was the Premier Lacrosse League and one was Major League Lacrosse. And they both played during the summers, and they were both competing for the same fans. And they recently merged. And what I think it gives is it gives the history that is Major League Lacrosse, where there is some awesome type stuff. And I know as I think about something like football, half the reason I like football is when I was growing up, I liked watching NFL film and seeing the history and hearing the documentaries and, learning about these players of old that built the tradition that we now get to enjoy as the present. So anyway, I think you get the history of Major League Lacrosse combined with what I think is the most cutting edge sport around. I mean, I know as I was coaching this year, there was never a time in my locker room where there wasn't a camera on. And granted, I'm sure a lot of that stuff wasn't worth putting on TV. But there are some nuggets that you get when you have cameras in everybody's locker room that I don't necessarily think you get from other sports because they've become so big. So I think you got guys who are just willing to kind of like lay it out there, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's fun for fans to watch. And I hope the fans get the benefit from that and really kind of see the personalities and the stories that are behind this thing as we all try and fight to be the best we can be.
Great answer, Coach. This is Steve again, Coach. I'm a big fan of the sport. I'm a basketball coach, but I'll tell you, and I can admit it, I watch way more college lacrosse playoffs than I do even NBA basketball at the same time when they're going head to head against each other on the TV. I have a son who's played the game since he's in first grade, currently a junior, praying that this guy next to me is going to give him a shot on his team.
He's,
put the pressure on him. But the games have so much crossover. There's a lot of I think things that footwork. You go man down on defense. There's a lot of zone principles that you see in the basketball game. What would you tell kids who are wanting to do more than just lacrosse? Like what other sport, if you could think of it, what would be like that other cross training sport that you feel would be good for them to do outside of, because I think so many kids now have gone 365 with the sports, and those two sport athletes have kind of going extinct. But how can you keep these guys in the game, but all the while still doing some other things that can help towards them becoming the best lacrosse players they want to become?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think you're completely right in that I think there is crossover between basketball and lacrosse. I think the way you play defense, I think the different styles, getting up and down the court or up and down the field. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are similar. I would say basketball is a great sport to play. I also know a lot of college coaches, as they're looking for college lacrosse players or potential college lacrosse players, they love looking at the football field. I know Dom Stargia used to recruit guys to Virginia. He'd go and just watch a football game or go and watch a soccer game and wouldn't ever see him play the game of lacrosse because he wanted good athletes. And I think the cool thing about this sport is, I mean, certainly you got the stick work that you got to get down, but that is something that you can learn pretty quickly. I mean, speaking of Dom Stargia, he's a guy that didn't start playing until he was a freshman in college. The guy was an All-American 2 years later. And granted, I think the sport has continued to grow since then, but I had buddies that picked it up in 8th grade and were great college lacrosse players. So anyway, football, soccer, hockey, basketball, I think are all great kind of crossover sports. And I think guys should be playing multiple sports if they can.
Thanks, Coach.
Ben, it seems as though the world of lacrosse is a community that is not only growing, but the faces are beginning to look a bit different. We are seeing more diversity in the sport. And I wanted to get your take on that. When I look at your roster, if I were to look at a roster on a lacrosse team, historically, 20 years ago, maybe even 10 years ago, I'm seeing a lot of faces that look the same. I'm currently on the PLL Atlas website. I'm looking at your roster, and I see a lot of different faces, a lot of different countries. What do you think has led to diversity and the growth of the sport? I mean, you can look at socioeconomic, and there are certain sports that certain, communities play because, of the socioeconomic impact. But it seems like lacrosse is opening its doors, and I'm seeing a lot of different faces that I didn't see before. What can you point to on that one?
Good question. I definitely think it's moving in the right direction. I don't necessarily know if I can put my finger on it. I think it's a sport that has had some great athletes from different cultures and different backgrounds and different races throughout the year. I think Jim Brown, the guy said it was his favorite sport. That's kind of a good starting point, and he played a long time ago.
No doubt.
I think that's pretty cool. It's a Native American game. I would say probably per capita, there's more Native Americans playing professional lacrosse than there are people from any kind of background playing any professional sport. And they are so creative and so good and some of the best players in the world. And I think it's really cool to see. So anyway, this is a Native American game that for whatever reason got the stigma of being a white sport in rich towns. And that certainly wasn't my background, but I think you got a lot of people fighting for it. I know you got organizations like Harlem Lacrosse. I got a kid who plays for me, Eric Law, who helps run Denver City Lax, and a bunch of people that are like working in the inner cities to try and bring kids up and use the sport of lacrosse to connect with them so they can impact their lives, not just on the field, but in the classroom. And, as I think about Thayer Academy, we have multiple kids from Harlem Lacrosse applying. And that's really cool. And these are kids that, have used the sport of lacrosse to hopefully get their foot in the door to attend great schools and make their futures better. So anyway, that was maybe not the clearest answer, but I think a lot of people are fighting for it, and I think it's moving in the right direction.
So that would be Mr. Eric Law, the 4-goal scoring Eric Law against the Redwoods, right?
Yeah, exactly. A guy that shot 60%, which I don't know what that would be in basketball terms, but that would be like
that'd be millions of dollars, Coach.
Right, that would be a lot of money.
Well, when you talk about that diversity, I will tell you, Coach O'Neill is bringing lacrosse to this table all of the time. And like I said, I'm just a broken record when I say, when I tuned in, I'm like, this is really something to watch. And my son goes to a school where lacrosse is pretty big. Every Monday I sit across from this guy who makes sure I know how big lacrosse is. And, Coach Turner next to me, I've seen his son literally clear some fools out on the lacrosse field. So it's got a little bit of everything, but I'm so glad that they brought it to me. And to see it on NBC, I think it's NBC Universal or whatever it was on this past summer, that was nice to see. Coach O'Neill.
So a quick shout out, you talk about Harlem Lacrosse and all the programs here in D.C., Winners Lacrosse, and what Matt Breslin has done with that program here in Washington, D.C. And just honestly, I want to go back to the Atlas because of what Paul Rabel has been doing and his brother, and then the rest of the crew. We had Kyle Harrison on, we had Tom Schreiber, and you as an ambassador for this sport. Can you talk a little bit about that roster though, as I kind of go back about what it's like coaching Paul Rabel and what it's like coaching, gosh, it could be Scotty Rogers or another hometown guy here, Romar Dennis. I mean, you have such a great group of men. Can you just touch on some of those players for a minute?
For sure. I love the guys on my team. I mean, let's take Paul. I think Paul has pushed this sport forward. I think he has won fans. I think he has created the league that, is the future of this sport. He's one of the smartest guys I've ever known. I've known him since middle school. He's a guy that grew up just outside of D.C. He is a brilliant guy and one of the best midfielders of all time. And like all those guys, these are superstars in the sport of lacrosse. And I will say I didn't do as good of a job as I would have liked to in terms of getting the best out of them in year one. And I think we learned a lot. I think it was an interesting format to come into. a season over 2 weeks for a brand new coach, I think we're going to be a lot better this year. But you got him. You got Romar Dennis, who's not too far outside of DC. 6'5", shoots the ball probably 115 miles an hour.
Right.
Is one of the, most athletic and strongest guys ever. Anyway, you go down the line. It is some fantastic players and some fantastic guys that are local to you. And like any team, when you have superstars, like we said in the beginning, I think half the battle is building the trust. And I think when it's really challenged is when things aren't going that well, because everyone's like, they're alphas, they're type A's. They're like, I'll solve this problem.
Right.
No big deal right here. And anyway, I think a lot of the guys can solve a lot of the problems, and it's why I'm pumped to coach them. But half the battle is like, let's do it with all 6 guys that are on offense. Let's do it with all 6 guys that are on defense. And anyway, I think we're going to look like a much different team this next year, and I'm pumped to work with these guys.
Love it.
Coach, you just said the word "why," and it's part of my next question to you. A lot of coaches in a lot of different sports out here, and certainly everyone does it for some different reasons. Please talk to the listeners today about your why you coach the youth, and also coaching these adult pros.
I was a kid from a small town in northern Maryland who used the sport of lacrosse to, get access to do some really cool things, whether that was attend the University of Virginia or to travel or to make a group of friends. Lacrosse gave me a lot, and I don't know if I would have had those opportunities if it hadn't have been for the sport. So I appreciate that. I therefore feel very fondly about the sport because it's done a lot for me. I also had some people that really changed my life. When I was taking some turns for the worse, they got my back, they pointed me in the right direction, and they gave me the support that I needed to improve and to go in the right way, and et cetera. So anyway, I do it because I'm appreciative and grateful of it. I know what the sport can do for some people. I think it's really fun. And lastly, I know how sweet victory tastes, and I really like that feeling, and I keep chasing it. And the more I do it, the more I enjoy it. And I don't think it's all about wins and losses. I think that's a secondary thing to doing a lot of other things right. But it certainly is satisfying when it does work out.
So Ben, excuse me, great answer to that. You got me fired up. I'm ready to hit the field right now and get after it with the kids. But so listen, not necessarily a question, but a statement, because you were talking about all the great things the sport's doing and how wonderful our sport. I think our sport can be incredible ambassadors to a lot of wonderful things. But I ran into an old teacher. I don't know if he taught you or not today, and he had seen through the promos that we were interviewing you. And so this is before you winning that amazing MIAA championship at St. Mary's Annapolis, and this is before even winning that national championship at UVA and all the things you've done in between. But he mentioned to me, he said, when you were in high school, you did an inner city camp for in inner city Baltimore. It's called Camp Umoja. I think I'm saying that right. I don't know if you remember this. And you were a counselor there. Does this ring a bell at all?
It sure does.
And
but I'm interested where it's going.
No, he said for a high school counselor, he'll never forget the way that you treated, reacted, cared for, and were mission driven to those kids. And he said, I just wanted him to hear that. So, hearing this going into the interview and the folks seeing you as a coach and as a club coach and high school coach, just knowing where that all kind of started with, you've always been that mission-driven type of person. I wanted you to hear that. His name's Ed Donnellan. And I don't know if you remember Ed or not, but he said, I remember seeing Ben, and I'm telling you that I knew he was a special young man when I saw him at that inner city camp as a counselor working with those kids. So it's a shout-out to you and that you're still doing it now, however many years later. So thanks, man.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, that's what a nice story. I haven't thought about that in years, and yeah, I think deep down in my heart, I'm a big softie. And
No, just giving you a good shout out. So
Pretty cool.
No, appreciate it.
Coach,
Thank you.
The hard part is over. We do have something, however, here on the podcast called the Starting Five. During this segment, I ask our coaches 5 questions that they've never seen or heard, and they get 30 seconds to answer. Now, I'm only going to ask you one. So here goes. But, Krissy, let him know what happens if he goes over his 30, Krissy. You're going to get dinged. So here's your question. The clock will start after I ask the question. If you were to play in the biggest lacrosse game of your life, and during intros, you have to pick your entrance song, what is your entrance song going to be when they announce your name?
Oh man, it would be Jerry Garcia. The harder they come, the harder they fall.
Wow.
I got made fun of it by my high school teammates, but it used to get me fired up.
That's all right.
So that's going to get you fired up. All right. Well, Coach, seriously, thanks for bringing lacrosse to the center of this table today. We consider ourselves a sports and lifestyle podcast and all of that. And, some of the more major sports get a lot of airtime with us. And it's important to Coach O'Neill, Coach Turner, myself, and DJ Krissy. She's behind the board, by the way. DJ Krissy, say hello to Mr. Rubior.
Hello.
Hey, DJ.
But it's important to us to bring lacrosse to this table, and I thank you for being a part of that today. Please tell our listeners how they can connect with you and your teams via social media.
Yeah, if you want to connect with me, it's at Rubior, and you can find the Atlas Lacrosse Club on any social media platform, and they do a fantastic job. If you want some fun stuff, check us out.
Well, we're going to be ready when the season begins again. Kudos to lacrosse being one of maybe the first of the major sports to consider the bubble, and we're going to quarantine. We're going to get these guys healthy, but we're going to put our product on the field. I can't wait. I'm an Atlas fan. I'm going to be watching you, and you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to watch the games and tell my kids, I interviewed that guy. So if you ever look over to camera and wave, I'm going to make them think that was for us, all right?
Love it.
I love it.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me.
No problem.
Man, thank you for being on.
Ladies and gentlemen, Atlas Lacrosse Club head coach and UVA Cavalier, Mr. Ben Rubior.
Thanks, Ben. Take care, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Go Bulls.
DJ Krissy, let's take it to a commercial break.
A² Home and Office Solutions is the go-to source for home or office network and audiovisual solutions. We can help with smart home integration, wireless networking, media rooms, security systems, and more. We will link technology to your lifestyle seamlessly. Visit homeandofficesolutions.com for more info.
Take it to you with Turner and O'Neill. We'd like to thank our partners, sponsors, and donors. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A² Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, and Body and Beyond Wellness.
Body and Beyond Wellness is acupuncture and wellness consulting. Our peaceful oasis is nestled just outside the Washington, D.C. Beltway. Our acupuncture treatments, workshops, and other wellness offerings will have you feeling restored, renewed, and revived. A limited appointment schedule is now available, but you must call in advance to schedule. Call 301-758-7980 or visit www.thebodyandbeyond.com for more info.
Kurt Cross here, producer of Take It To You with Turner and O'Neill. You know, there are few relationships more solid than the bond between a man and his barber. For years, I've gotten my cut with Gene the Barber. Located in downtown Silver Spring, Gene has been cutting my hair for more than 20 years. Now, if you have a barber you're happy with, I understand. But if you're new to the area or looking for that perfect cut, my man Gene will tighten you up. Call him directly at 240-687-7253 and make an appointment. Gene the Barber, 240-687-7253.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill.
We are back with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Thanks for listening and watching as we enjoy meeting you here each week. We just wrapped up our interview with Ben Rubior, UVA Lacrosse alum and current PLL Atlas head coach. What immediately comes to mind for me is the PLL's dedication, or not even them, but his dedication to growing the sport and the PLL's effort in reaching into today's, it's not tough. Get a young fan base, meet them where they are with social media, show them inside the sport. You can't, I mean, I'm sure there's some people whose Instagrams you can do this with, but you can't be inside Tom Brady's locker room every single day, but the PLL is giving you access. And to give you that access, it educates you about the sport and gets you more vested in the sport.
And it gets you, like you just mentioned beautifully, about the youth. It's all about the youth. And I would do a trivia or a questionnaire with the kids, the campers, and asking them why they like the PLL today and they said, well, it's social media, it's the players.
Right.
We go where the players are. And so that was one of the first things that they did. I hate to use I don't hate to do it. If LeBron James is your favorite player and he's in Cleveland, you're rooting for Cleveland.
Right.
If he's in LA, you're rooting there. If he's in Miami. So Paul Rabel is in the hearts of so many kids. Wherever he's going, they're going to go with the Atlas Club or wherever Tom Schreiber
and new
is.
merch.
Right. And they're just the new merch and all that. So they've done a great job there. And by merging together with the MLL, which are some of the greatest players in the world as well, it's just going to continue to expand. But Ben he's a great guy. And what I kind of mentioned when I was asking him a question is he won an MIAA championship at St. Mary's Annapolis as a head coach. Gosh, I can't even remember, probably like 8 or 9 years ago. And they hadn't won that championship in maybe 18 to 20 years. That's like winning the SEC in football. It's like winning the WCAC in basketball. It is the hardest high school lacrosse conference. And I know the New York folks are going to say, winning that. I believe that the MIAA pound for pound in high school lacrosse. So he did that, went it back to Loyola, Blakefield coach there. He's been all over. And he does it with class. He does it with dignity. But you could hear a little fire in his voice as well when he's talking about how he treats those young men and getting them to be one. Go ahead.
What year did you think that was?
I think it was 2015 or 2013.
2015. He led the team to their first MIAA conference championship in 19 years.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
The thing is, it's, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, blah, blah, blah. It's easier to teach young folks than to teach older folks out of their ways. And if you bring them in at a young age and make the sport accessible to more than just what was the norm, you're going to get a broader, base of people playing it. Without you guys, I'm not watching the PLL, but I'm sure I'll be tuned in now.
But but you mentioned a great point when you see some of the faces on that roster, right? To see different faces.
I see a couple guys who look like me.
Yeah,
right, and that draws me in.
And some of the dudes that look like middle linebackers, other guys that
who
look
are scary,
right? You see Native American, you see black, you see white,
guys whose names I can't pronounce from other cultures,
Canadians, and that's the beauty of the sport and where it's going right now. When you look at those rosters, and I mean, it is a rough physical game. It's only going to get better this summer. It's only going to get better.
You have a young man who plays the sport. You are vested in the sport. What are you hearing from Rubior that excites you? What did you learn? Talk to me.
I mean, I'm excited for his passion.
Right.
You do it he's doing it at a few different levels.
I mean, every level, right?
All year long. That could be tiresome. That could wear you down. I don't hear that from him.
Right.
I see a guy that sees a future to be even greater in his sport that he loves, sport that he grew up playing. I think I hear him talk about opportunity for the youth who are playing today, that there's going to be a bigger base, a bigger home for them to really strive for in that game. And then my biggest takeaway though is his passion for helping others. Like, he didn't say it in those words, but I hear it in who he is and the things that he does. You telling a story that Ed Donlin talked about, him talking about being in admissions and working up in Boston at the school, and then the other thing I took away was he's still mentoring men.
Yeah,
Like he talked quickly about what his mission was and what he's recently sent out to grown men to continue to get them to strive to be the best that they can be, so that the team can be the best. And as a coach, hearing that and hearing him speaking to the best of the best that way, I love it. I love it. He got me pumped up.
And they'll make a run this year for sure. Paul
ain't going out before he's done to get one. I know that.
He wants one bad.
You know, one thing, I think the biggest thing for me, I get it. The PLL is not as big as the NBA or NFL. But in what other sport do you see a professional coach also coaching club, and it's not his son's lacrosse team, right? And coaching a high school team, he's giving the sport what he has inside of him and what the sport very well may need on every single level. To those kids who play club, I imagine that for a good portion of those kids, a goal is to play in the PLL. They're getting coached by a PLL coach, not the graduate intern. You know, they're getting coached by a PLL coach.
Yes.
Who's, you can look at his hardware.
Right.
You know, you see his resume, and that's got to be it's got to be intimidating for some kids, but it's got to be inspiring for some kids to say that I want to be where that guy was. As a sophomore, he was all ACC, and that doesn't happen.
So you know what's interesting is when I was growing up, I played lacrosse, I played basketball and football, but you know my dream was to play in the NBA. And then you hear guys who are 10, 15 years younger than me, like Tom Schreiber, if we go way back to then, they saw that MLL and then PLL slowly coming and surely. So now there's that dream where kids are like,
it's no longer the NBA. It's
I can go play professional lacrosse.
Right.
So these guys are giving that opportunity to young kids. And more importantly, I think one of the messages, giving kids the opportunity to get into some really good schools, colleges, but more importantly, sooner, high schools. So high schools around the country that are developing these programs, they get these opportunities to go play, get a great education, and then just continue that. So,
and that's something you want for your guys, an opportunity to use sport to get them. And I quoted you today, by the way. I was talking to a mom whose daughter's a swimmer, and I said, look, make sure when she's looking at schools, if the sport were taken away, can she see herself at that school? And mom, her mind was blown when I quoted you on that. She saw that very clearly when I said that.
Yeah.
But that's what you want for your guys, an opportunity for the sport to help them get to another level, because everyone who wears purple and white won't be in the NBA one day.
You know, we just say use the activity, and it doesn't have to be sport, but use the activity as a vehicle to gain opportunity. It's going to open up some unbelievable doors. You talk about the different sports, and sometimes, you know, I use lacrosse. There's not a lot of money in lacrosse to go to college, but the opportunity to go to some of the best universities in the world will come through playing lacrosse.
We'll come through that. And then, you know, you figure out the, you know, financial aid and other things like that. But you get one shot at 8 years, right? One shot.
That's your theme, yeah.
Granted, you know, you don't graduate. You can always come back and get your degree. I get it. But you get these 8 years to do something special. And if it's play 2 sports in high school, if it's get to college and play a sport, I mean, it's just, people don't realize that. And so take advantage of that time while you can.
By the way, I'm going to just put it out there. We've said your name a few times on this podcast today, Paul Rabel. We're waiting for you to come on. So those who know him, who hear this podcast this week, tell him we're looking for him and we're waiting for him to come on.
We want to
come on. We want to have an
PLL.
opportunity to talk with him about the PLL.
Zero talk of high schools. We just want to go straight to the
We
PLL
welcome
talk.
Paul Rabel to this show. I'm gonna say it now. I think we'll get him on this season. Coach Neal, I gotta thank you. You are a big proponent of lacrosse. You brought that gentleman here, and I can just feel that excitement. Again, I'm a PLL fan. Thank you for bringing it to this table and into this studio probably 6 months ago when you started talking about it and made me watch. You know, you're texting me during that game, making me watch. So we are PLL fans here. Thank you to Mr. Rubior, the PLL in general, the PLL Atlas Lacrosse Club, and Mr. Rabel. You are on the clock. We'd love to see you or hear you on Turner and O'Neill. We're coming right back with our weekly sports wrap-up. DJ Krissy, please take it to break.
Since 1939, the Collins family has served families of Montgomery County and Greater Washington with dignified professional service in their time of need. We continue the same family tradition today at our funeral home located just off the Beltway in Silver Spring, Maryland. Our family of experienced funeral directors stand ready to assist you around the clock, 365 days a year. Whether you wish to pre-plan or you have experienced a loss, please contact us to discuss how we can assist you at your time of need. Call 301-593-9500 or visit collinsfuneralhome.com.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our friends of the program: Shane Benson, Todd Bradley, Paula Cross, Susan and Brendan O'Neill Sr., Daniel Richard, Noah Richard, Andrea Terrones. If you would like to become a friend of the program, go to www.turnerando'neill.com and click Become a Friend.
The Tamara Cusick Team. Ready, set, sold. Real estate is more than just houses. It's about people too. The Tamara Cusick Team offers an all-inclusive approach, making the home buying and selling process efficient, financially smart, and stress-free for you. From home prep-up to complimentary staging, expert counsel to an experienced and qualified team of professionals, let's chat houses. The Tamara Cusick Team isn't just a partner. They literally sold us the home where the Take a TO broadcasts from each week. Visit www.tamara4homes, that's the number 4.com, or call 301-780-4663.
Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. Welcome back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. This week's episode is brought to you by Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Now, our weekly sports wrap-up. Gentlemen, the Super Bowl is set for the first time ever. The Super Bowl will be held in a city where the home team will be in the game. We've got Bucks, Chiefs. Early thoughts on your opening line for Super Bowl 55. What you got, Coach O'Neill?
Early line. I was mentioning this earlier. I think the defense of those Buccaneers are just good enough not to keep the Chiefs in total check,
Okay.
but to do enough. And I think you give those guys 2 weeks to prepare. I think this game's going to be closer than people think. I heard a stat today that Patrick Mahomes has never lost a game, I don't want to say in these 3 years, but it might be, by more than double digits in his 3 years as a starter. So he's certainly set up with the right tools in, Kelsey, and then you got Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek is a monster.
And then
Freak.
He's unbelievable. Even my wife and daughter watched that last night, just seeing him make a move and then cut to the middle.
Right?
Like you just see that burst going off. I feel like the Bucs are going to be prepared. I'm going with the Chiefs, but I think the Bucs are going to give them all they can handle. I buy a line. So you want to do like Vegas line? Or are we getting? I think it's 3.5 right
We're
now.
going 4 or 5?
I think it'll be about. I'll go 3.5 or 4.
All right, Coach Turner.
I don't have a line.
And I might change next week.
Well, the line moves. You know
Right.
that.
But I might change.
So you reserve the right.
Yeah, because if I keep watching these Tom
Who'd you
Brady
pick?
motivational videos, I might switch.
So who are you picking for the win?
I just said the Chiefs.
Okay.
I just said the Chiefs, but I might change next week. So hold on, folks.
Don't put your money down yet. Coach Turner speaks.
I gotta flip it, and go put the extra stamp on the GOAT.
I mean, you can't.
That's what I
Go
want.
put the extra stamp on the GOAT.
That's what I want.
I would like to see at this point now. Tom, go get it. Go get it done. Like, let him know.
Let him know.
That's
And-
it.
and
Let him know. I don't know what what I would love to see is a game that just fourth quarter comes down to a couple drives back and forth. And whoever makes that last drive wins it.
You're talking Ali Lewis. You're talking just
yeah.
haymaker.
Yes.
Haymaker.
Yes.
So you mentioned first time in a Super Bowl, home team is playing in their own stadium.
55 Super Bowls, yeah.
So, and what I heard is the fans, majority are going to be those frontline workers. You hear that? Frontline
I heard they're
workers.
going to be there, but I think they're overstating how many of them. It makes it seem like, but I didn't hear a number that
because I'm
let me
saying,
believe
okay, frontline workers probably all vaccinated. Let them fill that joint up. Like, why not? If they
Right.
are, but I don't know. I was asking a question. You don't know if it's
I don't know what percentage of
thousand.
that is. Yeah.
Because you imagine being a longtime Bucs fan and your team's in the Super Bowl in your home stadium,
Right.
and you can tailgate. Wow, we'll see.
That's
We'll
going to be
see.
something. So we're going the GOAT over here. We're going Kansas City. And maybe I could break the tie. I think I'm going to go 38-30 Chiefs.
Okay.
3830. 7,500 vaccinated healthcare workers are getting free tickets. So that is the number that I think they were saying that I didn't, that's not what I heard at first, but 7,500. If you go to NFL.com, that's what they're saying.
All right, trivia for you.
Yeah.
Do you know who the halftime performer is?
Yeah, it's your boy, The Weeknd.
Actually, he is my boy. I like The Weeknd.
Yeah,
I think he's good.
Never mind the 5,000 commercials they play every hour with him driving into the stadium.
How's that song go? Ooh,
The Blinding Lights.
blinded by the-
I did not like that song a month ago, and I like that song now.
It's a pretty good.
Did
song.
you know? Here's one thing you might not know about him. Where's he from?
I definitely don't know.
Do you know? He's Ethiopian.
Really?
He is Ethiopian, yes. He is Ethiopian. I will pull up his actual name for you in
And
just a moment. Oh, go for it. Buy me some time.
My boy, I don't know who the female singer is, but the country artist doing the national anthem, and you can look that up too, is my favorite, Eric Church. I'm a little nervous because he's got kind of a scratchy old country voice.
He'll be fine.
He'll be fine, though.
What was his
Shout out.
popular one?
Who's that?
Eric Church.
He's got a lot out.
What song do I know by him?
Springsteen is probably his most popular on the tops of the country charts.
Okay.
The rest of them are.
The Weeknd's name is Abel Mokanen Tesfa. Yes, professionally known as The Weeknd, is a Canadian singer, songwriter, and record producer. Of course, his heritage is Ethiopian. So there you go. That's The Weeknd. All right, the Bills and Packers came up short. Before I ask the question,
How's Paula?
did you
She okay?
see?
Was she okay?
She was bummed out last night, but I told her, like, I don't think I texted it to you guys. Sometimes, sorry, I'm going back to the Lakers, but in 2008, Kobe
Don't be sorry.
Kobe wanted to do it, but couldn't get over that hump with Powell, and he had to feel that sting of loss to come back hungrier next time. I read in one of Phil Jackson's books that when the Bulls lost one year, the next day Pippen was in there, and he's like, next season begins now. Like, he had to feel that sting.
I think every coach that's been doing it long enough knows those hurdles, knows those things. I mean, I can go back to the first few years of games. We thought we had teams dead to rights,
Right?
And you know, a net breaks and the other team scores, and we're in overtime, we lose. And it took those moments, it took those tough times to get through it. Buffalo will get there. Buffalo will get there for sure.
So
I hope. Those
did you
fans-
see the Stephon Diggs video clip?
I did not see it. Did you?
Neither did I.
Only one on the
field.
sidelines,
Okay.
watching the Chiefs and all the confetti. And I'm like, he wants that to hurt.
Yeah.
He wants to feel that sting to know I need to be under that confetti next year. And I respect guys like that.
Gotta
It's kind of
respect that.
cliche, but he's there, and he's like, his coach had to come get him.
Yeah.
Had to come get him. He wanted to see that and witness that because, you know what, that's where I want to be right now, and I'm not.
Right.
So I got to give him credit.
That's tough to do. I can remember in tough losses, you know, get me out of here.
And
Let's
shout
roll
out to the Bills Mafia. They're running through tables. They come strong, don't they?
and donating money to Lamar Jackson's charity.
That was last week. That was
I
last
know,
week's
but
show.
they're doing
We
all
already
those
talked
crazy
about that.
things.
We already covered that, little brother.
Oh, so you're going to be all nice about the Lacrosse podcast, and now he's going to.
Because we already covered that.
Well, I'm just saying.
We
what
have
the
to
Bills
pay for this
Mafia did.
airtime. Are you going to kick in for this airtime?
I already did.
All right, what's next for the Bills and Packers? Coach Turner. I mean, that's your guy. I wanted to see Aaron Rodgers win as well. What's next? I
think the Bills,
future bright.
future's bright.
Future's
and
good.
let's see them make the run again. The Packers got some things to deal with. I mean, you go and draft a young quarterback in. There was some controversy to start
Yeah, they
this
did.
season. Now you go out. Now what is what's those conversations going to be like here in the next couple months?
Yeah, I feel the same
There
way.
you go.
Same thing. Questions for the Packers. Although they've got some great pieces, probably if not one of the top 3 wide receivers in the game as well. You know, what are you going to do with Aaron? What's going to happen there?
I'll tell you what I am looking forward to.
He'd look good in burgundy and gold.
You called it, I don't know, episode 2021. We got a lot of great quarterbacks that it's awesome to watch. I mean, going into next year, you know, can we get a healthy Lamar Jackson? What's Tua going to do? Kyler Murray. We got a lot of football to watch next year that's going to be exciting. And Josh Allen has literally, you saw the stat, doubled his touchdown production
Each year. Yeah.
each year. he's going to be off the chain if he can stay healthy. And I think the Bills are probably one piece away. Do they need to stretch the field a little bit more with like a dynamic running back who can always get it done? Because they've got I was going to say Kelsey. They've got the tight end. Yep. They've got Diggs. You know, their defense shows up. Mm-hmm. Can they get one more piece? Because as I was telling Paula, if I know all I have to deal with is Beasley and Diggs and I lock them down, what else are you coming with? Right. Well, if you got a 3-headed monster, you've got something to deal with.
Right.
And with Kansas City, you've got Mahomes, you've got Tyreek, you've got Kelsey. There's too much going on because if
they got Bell who was injured, and then all those Sammy Watkins, and I mean, just the list goes on.
If you honor Kelsey and you honor Tyreek, well, then Mahomes is going to beat you with his legs. So they've got the weapons. I think Buffalo might be one weapon away. Maybe they need a great running back. I don't know.
I think they're close. I think they're very close to it. But again, I always look at play calling, and when Buffalo's at its best, it's when Allen is creating, but creating in a way where he's outside the pocket. I don't see him as a pocket passer. He can certainly sling it, but he does his best, like Mahomes, creating and doing things. So if they tweak a couple offensive
back up
plays
against the wall, he's
sets,
making it happen.
Yeah, right. And then shore up offensive line. I mean, they were getting after him a little bit last night too. And the Chiefs' defense isn't. I don't think it's as good as Buffalo's. You just got that offense that's rolling.
I mean, I saw Josh running for his life a couple times.
Totally running for his life. I mean,
but he made some things happen out of it.
Completely. Yes, and that's what they need to do is when they do a little bit of misdirection stuff and getting him rolling out. But I think you're right. If you have that home run hitter at running back, Buffalo is. That's what he needs. Yeah,
to be contended with.
Yep.
We have the COVID effect now, guys. It's setting in even more. The NBA and NCAA are each feeling the effects of COVID at a rapidly increasing pace. Teams like the Wizards, Memphis, and Philly have had significant pauses and postponements due to COVID. The Wizards are just coming off a 2-week layoff because of COVID. Now, for them, that was halfway good if they can get those games back in because Westbrook was hurt. But should they just draw a line in the sand and say, look, we've got to make a different kind of decision here?
You would think, but I think they're too far into it at this point.
Well, keep in mind
12,
also,
15 games?
Yeah, keep in mind they also do not have the second half of the season released yet in terms of the schedule. They can put
take a little
hiatus
pause
in there
and figure maybe some regional areas, which we've mentioned before.
I'm a fan of that, but what do you see there, sir?
Some of these clowns got to stop running around.
That's one thing.
Like, you making millions of dollars. You know what you signed up for. Like, you got to dial into the sport.
Park your butt at home.
And stop hanging out and having group functions and doing some of the things that you're not supposed to be doing.
Right.
Do you think it's harder for them to monitor that with the NBA guys or the NCAA guys?
It's hard because they're not in the bubble.
It's definitely harder with the NBA guys.
They just go home and do whatever.
Because they're going to their house. They're going home.
Or if they're on the road.
Wherever else.
But if they're on the road, they can go to a restaurant, go where they want to go.
You could be in the back of a car service without your mask on, and who knows who else was in that car, an hour ago.
Right. I don't know. I just, you pray that they can continue to have it going and keep it moving. But
we're close. We're getting.
But just be a lot smarter about what you're doing. Like it's not hard. Some of these guys gotta grow up and realize, like, you got to sacrifice.
Right.
You've been blessed with an honor to play in the best the best league in the world, and honor it. Look out for everybody else. Don't be selfish and think about just yourself. And, with college, it's one day at a time. I think they're trying. I think they're doing and making their best efforts that they can with what's given and provided for them. I'm just praying they keep it going because I miss March Madness. Being selfish, I miss it. But
and with the format with March Madness coming up,
I mean,
we can get there.
They have something in place.
Right.
So
we got to get there.
We just
right?
got to get there. We got to get there.
All right. Well, here's my next thought on that. College teams such as the Duke women, Baylor women, and Michigan men are just a few of the programs. Don't forget, UConn missed some games early too. And those programs are either shut down or went into pause mode because of COVID. Does it make sense for college athletics to continue on? I mean, Mulkey down at Baylor said the only reason they're playing, and she's frustrated, is because of the almighty dollar. because the NCAA wants that dollar, and she doesn't think that the right steps are being taken to ensure that that dollar gets made, or to look after the athletes.
I mean, it's $1 million question. And as we get closer and closer and a vaccine out, and it's slowly but surely, the right people are getting that vaccine, but it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while before you get the kids in that age range and this and whatever it is. I think you could take a page from sort of what we're doing locally, or teams, where you can safely get them together. I mean, at some point, people have to take ownership on their own program. Like you just said it about the NBA. These men and women need to step up and just monitor what they're doing. But there has to be something. So if the colleges have decided we're going to play basketball, then who's following up with what the kids are doing or how this is happening?
Here's her quote.
And it's not all the kids. You can have somebody that works in the front office or this.
See, that's the other piece, because with Michigan, they haven't said that it was Michigan basketball players that got it.
It could have been a
strength coach or program.
They said the program and in the school.
The department, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they said the school.
Yes.
So that doesn't
Could
mean
be
that
hockey kids.
Doesn't mean that
Could
the basketball
be,
players are acting up or
swimmers.
not being where they're supposed to be. It could be some other folks that are on
But that's
campus.
where those athletic departments need to take ownership if this is what they're going to do. Now, I will also say, so when you see programs, again, we've talked about the mighty dollar with basketball and football, but you're seeing the other programs that those kids are not going to probably get a chance to compete coming into the winter and the spring.
True, but those programs also are only on those campuses because of those two programs.
I know.
I mean, and I'm not saying that that's
I get it.
Makes it right or wrong, but for those programs to stay afloat, if these guys don't play, they're going to start canceling seasons or canceling the sport itself.
So can't these athletic departments, come up with the protocol? Look, we've been a product of sitting through a lot of heartache of doing nothing for a long time. But as we've done that, we're getting so much closer.
I know it's hard to pay for a product and not maybe be able to be there. But when there's a product on the campus that also provides for you to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Maybe the bubble is everybody else's virtual other than the sport in season.
Right. I'm just saying those ADs need to take ownership of that, because if they're going to do it, as I mentioned, you and I have paid a price throughout this entire year of not being able to do a lot of things. But because of that patience and that work and a plan, we're getting to where
it's an opportunity.
Yeah, an opportunity. So these guys are given an opportunity, then why can't the leaders that be, put together and place a plan where we're not having shutdowns every other time?
Here's Mulkey's quote. The season will continue on. It's called the almighty dollar. The NCAA has to have the almighty dollar for the men's tournament. The almighty dollar is more important than the health and welfare of me, the players, or anyone else. That's her feeling. She's a Hall of Fame coach. We're not talking about a coach who's, 6-13 right now. They're ranked number 6. So she has a dog in the fight.
She does, but she just said something.
What's that?
She said men's.
Right.
So then shut it down.
All of them.
No, shut down the women's program.
Okay.
If her concern is her kids, she does have an opportunity, just like Duke did, just like Virginia did.
Mm-hmm.
She could shut her season down too, and I think she definitely has something to talk on. She had it.
Right. She did at Christmas.
That's why they didn't play UConn.
Yeah. She was out for like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is an opportunity that is. She didn't state that she had to stay in it.
Right.
So why not shut them down?
That is an option. I'm just giving a quote.
I hear
you better ask somebody, Steve.
Oh, okay. You want me to call this episode that? You better ask somebody? Says Coach O'Neill. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. We've got some things we've got to do. We got a quote coming up from the gentleman sitting across from me, and we will be right back. Krissy, let's take it to break. Winsight Media. Winsight delivers connections and intelligence to 4 of the fastest growing verticals: convenience retailing, grocery businesses, restaurants, and non-commercial food service through broad and cutting-edge platforms. No company is better positioned to meet the food industry's needs than Winsight. Connect with us at www.winsightmedia.com. Building your brand is an important part of your business growth. By advertising with Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill, you'll gain the exposure and brand recognition behind our podcast. In Season 1, we reached a total of more than 100,000 listeners, viewers, subscribers, and website visitors combined. Your company will benefit from our popularity online and during the podcast. Advertising with Turner and O'Neill equals exposure on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, and more than 15 listening platforms total. Inquire today and let's partner to build your brand.
Insurance Alliance Group manages the gap between damage appraisal estimates from your insurance company and what you are rightfully owed based on your policy. They work on behalf of policyholders with claim assistance and disputes to maximize claims. Insurance Alliance Group serves as professional advisors and trusted advocates. The Insurance Alliance Group handles business and home property loss. Request a free claim review with the property loss professionals. Insurance Alliance Group. Visit us at insurancealliancegroup.com or call 866-574-4773. This segment of Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is sponsored by
Ray P. Cruz, Mortgages Intelligently. Portions of the podcast were previously recorded. Now, back to Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. We are back, and now, before we get into our cadence to end the show, I got a text that says, did you know Tom Brady and LeBron are the only people to go to 10 championships in the last 20 years? I was going to use that just now, but this person also says that's something you can use on the podcast. I mean, in real time. So, Gene, you get your shout out for giving me that nugget of information as we're just about ready to close out the show. And Steve, don't say stuff like you said on commercial break and expect me to have a straight face about guys blowing dudes up.
No, what goes to what you just talked about.
Right.
As both sports, two of the best sports in the world, have softened up their games, in my opinion, based on those two sports that I grew up watching.
NBA, NFL.
Do those two guys who, no doubt, both belong on Mount Rushmore, their sport.
It's a good point, Coach.
Do they get to 10 championships?
Right.
Do they have that opportunity with the way that the game was played?
You see some of the hits Joe Montana took?
Yes.
When he was back. I mean, crushed. That happens to Tom Brady today, no chance.
So you're telling me if...
Or the hits Michael took when he came down the lane.
LeVar Arrington and I can't say
LT.
Thank you. And Lawrence Taylor
Come on.
happened to be
Warren Sapp. Reggie White.
So you're saying that's
we
it's a
can keep
different
naming
game?
them. Dexter coming around the corner to rocking these dudes, knocking them out.
Dwight Freeney.
Do they get to 10?
Dwight Freeney?
Dwight Freeney.
All those guys.
Like, do they get to 10? You know, and even LeBron.
Daryl Grant?
We flip it to the NBA side
77.
of it. 77, baby.
Yeah.
Do we flip it to the other side?
So you tell me if Bill Laimbeer was patrolling the middle,
Well,
or Rick Mahorn.
I think for LeBron, it's two things.
Okay.
The physicality of guys putting you on your butt, coming to the rim.
right?
And then two, not having the opportunity for load management. Those dudes played every game.
Right.
They weren't. They only sit out when they were really hurt.
You know, hold on. The same could be said for baseball. You can't run into the catcher anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Our sport, they take away so many hits. If you go back
So
to the
Rick
80s
Dempsey
and
was
lacrosse,
taking some hits.
Right, but if you go back,
the only thing I'm saying is just those two being
Sure.
10,
They're protecting
10
everybody.
world championships.
except for hockey. No, hockey they take away hits where if your back is to somebody
Right.
and your head's up against the glass.
Well, first of all, hockey
but you can
though-
still drop the
but,
gloves.
But hockey, they still take a chance and they make the hit anyway.
That's going to change in a few years. I see Kurtis. He's like, get that hockey out of here.
No. I'm just.
Hockey's a
I
beast.
think you're right. If you get because Kevin McHale will throw some punches.
Dude, all them dudes.
Kurt
And
Rambis
they-
will
and they
throw some
land-
punches.
Little
And they
Danny
land.
Ainge.
Dudes today don't land punches.
Little Danny Ainge.
Little Danny Ainge.
He gonna get in there and scrap with,
I never.
scrap
Did
with
you
the
ever
big
see
fellas.
Dennis Johnson get in a fight? I don't know if I ever
DJ
saw
was soft.
it. Oh, that was.
Wow.
What about Joe Dumars and
You
them?
think it was the freckles?
Yeah.
He had freckles on him.
What about Joe Dumars and them?
Joe Dumars would put his hands on him. He's
right.
a bad boy.
But you said Charles Oakley. I'm scared of Charles Oakley.
I would run. That's
There
a
was
fact.
I was in New York when Miami and New York had a big old fight. Miami, they were in the early years of their team. I was in the Garden during that fight. But you're right. It was a lot more physical. And if you came down the middle and Laimbeer was waiting for you or Mahorn was waiting for you, you were paying the price.
I mean, think about
Absolutely.
it.
And Isaiah would get his shots
Some
in
things
too,
people
then.
don't talk about is MJ missed some games because of getting put on his ass and getting hurt.
Right?
Yeah. Have you watched The Last Dance yet?
I have not. I was waiting for you to come over with popcorn.
I'm going to make you watch it.
I'm waiting for you to come over with popcorn.
There's 9 episodes.
It's some jujubes.
You gotta watch.
Some junior.
I want Twizzlers.
Some
He
Thin Mints.
Sour
He
Patch
can't
Kid.
watch that. It's sacrilegious for the Laker fan to watch that.
You might have liked it.
For years, I didn't like them because of 1991. For years, I couldn't watch them because of it ended our reign.
Magic has a little cameo in there.
Yeah, he does.
Paul and I watched like 2/3 of the first episode, but we get into Chicago Fire and PD and all that stuff. And I'm not sure.
You're afraid to watch it because the little ones might change.
No, I don't care. They can like whoever they want. They got to be their own people. I'm a Lakers fan regardless. They can go wayward for all I care. All right, we're going to get to Coach Casey O'Neill's quote in a little bit. Become a friend or partner of the program. To do so, go to www.turnerandoneil.com and click Become a Friend. We need you as an advertiser. Become a friend or partner or an advertiser. Go to turnerandoneil.com and click partnerships. We want you to connect with us socially. Let me tell you, we are over 100 subscribers on YouTube. I got that email today. We need more friends of the program to connect with us socially, though.
Yeah.
I see those numbers are jumping on Facebook. We need Twitter. We need Instagram outreach. We need all that. What do you got for me over there, sir?
We want those questions. We want people to give us
Yes.
topics to talk about. We want that. Come on, people.
Write into us. Let us know what you want to talk about, and we will cover. If we don't know it, we will do our research, and we will cover it. So, look, connect with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Turner O'Neill Podcast or Turn On Podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Take it to you with Turner and O'Neill. Krissy, I need to talk to you for a second. Can you talk to the people for a second? Where can they find us? Can they find us on Spotify,
Yes,
iHeartRadio,
absolutely.
Apple Podcasts, Deezer,
All of those.
Buzzsprout,
Yes.
Turner and O'Neill?
Still yes.
All right, TNO, take a TO, type it in, you will find us, because if you know what, I'm going to do it live right now. I'm going to type in Turner and O'Neill, the podcast, and let's see where we come up. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill. And look where we can be found, guys, if the internet. We can be found on Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, YouTube, Facebook, Amazon Music, Podchaser, Listen Notes, Google Podcasts. You can find us. So if you tell me...
Barbecue shrimp kebab.
That's about everything you can do with podcasts. You can listen on YouTube. You can listen on at my mama's house. If you put it in your car and hit the AirPlay button, you can listen over the speaker. You know how you got the speakers in your car and everything? That Alexa gal. If you go to that Alexa gal on Amazon, tune in on Alexa. Krissy's getting it over there. I see. Alexa got us too. Have you listened to us on Alexa? You can listen on Alexa. Just say, Alexa, turn on the Turn On Your podcast. I want to hear Hollywood on there. They're gonna put on Hollywood.
This is why I love Monday.
So the point is, that's about everything you can do with podcasts, because Krissy got us listed everywhere.
Shrimp gumbo.
Shrimp gumbo.
You can do that too? Butterfly some shrimp? Krissy don't get, you can fry shrimp.
Shrimp po' boy.
I'm going to give you some po' boys. You know what? After the show, let's go get us some po' boys, man.
Oh, that sounds good.
So the point is, we encourage your questions, content ideas, comments, and critiques. Thank you to Ben Rubeor for being on the show today. We might not get to all your submissions, but we want to hear from you. We will read listener and viewer questions on the air from time to time. Before we sign off, we thank our engineer, DJ Krissy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You two gentlemen, thank you for being here. Coach Turner, Coach O'Neill. Paula, she contributes to the podcast. Thanks to our donors, sponsors, and partners. We encourage our audience to support those who support us. Gentlemen, any thoughts?
Paula, always.
Always use the easy pass lanes. You brought it back. My man, you don't even know what that is, do you? You know why? You're about to get in trouble. You don't even know why Paula should always use the easy pass lanes, do you?
I've been left out of this one. So
No, the public knows about it because it's the Kurtis and Paula show, our podcast. You didn't listen. He did. Thank you, Coach Turner.
You're welcome.
She doesn't use the easy pass lane.
No, go back. Go listen.
You gotta go listen.
I gotta go
segment.
listen.
You gotta listen
I gotta
to the
go.
segment.
You know, and I was just thinking about
If you want to listen, it's on Amazon, it's on TuneIn Alexa, it's on Spotify, it's on iHeart, Apple Podcasts. You just go to your Alexa device, wherever you listen, your Google machine, and you just say Kurtis and Paula show, and Alexa gonna find it.
follow.
You know what? Sir? We're always there, but you just took it up a notch with that. You let me know you listen right there. All right, Coach O'Neill, it's your quote. I'm gonna leave the airspace to you, sir.
First and foremost, great episode tonight. I was fired to get a great lacrosse guest, and appreciate the questions from you. And I appreciate the humor you brought tonight, DJ.
Yes, you did.
Because you laughed, and you needed that. Look, she's still laughing. Oh, wow. My quote is, I'm going to bring things down. No, I'm not going to bring things down. Folks, I've told people a lot that I have a little spiritual background. So this is part of a prayer from a Jesuit priest, Father Deschardins. We are quite naturally impatient in everything to reach the end without delay. Mm-hmm. We should like to skip the intermediate stages. We are impatient of being on the way to something unknown, something new. And yet it is the law of all progress that it is made by passing through some stages of instability. And with that, it may take a very long time. Now, this prayer goes on, but I want to tell the folks, believe, we are making progress. That's all I got.
Love it.
DJ Krissy, pull the plug.
Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill would like to thank our advertisers. Our premier partner, Ray Cruz and MCF Mortgage. Our partners, the Tamara Cusick Team, Dynamic DJ Entertainment, Healthy Baller, and Insurance Alliance Group, LLC. Our sponsors, O'Neill Development, LLC, Next Level Lacrosse, A Squared Home and Office Solutions, Collins Funeral Home, and Peace Players International. Our donors, Winsight Media, Gene the Barber, Body and Beyond Wellness, and Justin O'Neill. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is produced by Kurtis Cross and engineered by DJ Krissy. All material is the exclusive property of the podcast and may not be copied, rebroadcast, or used in any way without the written consent of the podcast. The views, ideas, and commentary of podcast guests are solely their own and not necessarily endorsed by the podcast. You may submit questions, podcast ideas, and commentary to turneroneillpodcast@gmail.com. No compensation is offered for submitted material. Should we choose to use your idea, comment, or question, you agree to your likeness, social media identity, and/or information being used on the podcast. Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill is recorded weekly and distributed via Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more than 15 podcast platforms in total. You can also view Take a TO with Turner and O'Neill weekly on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest episode drops. Some portions of the podcast may be pre-recorded. Join us socially on Facebook and Instagram at Turner O'Neill Podcast, on Twitter at Turn On Podcast, and on YouTube. Search Turner and O'Neill and subscribe. Our website is www.turnerando'neill.com. Advertising opportunities are available.